do you think the Democrats need a makeover, and are they going to get their makeover?
Well, if they need a makeover, I hope they start with Rosa DeLauro, because she looks like a comic book villain. So I'd like to throw her name into the mix. I watch this. I think I have mixed feelings about this.
Mixed feelings.
Because, yeah, okay, they're making their move. They're going to replace the old school Pelosi and Schumer. But who are they replacing them with? They're replacing with Newsom, Mondami, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, the four jackasses of the apocalypse is who they're bringing in. And that might sound like a good idea, but here's my concern. I hate to agree with Hakeem Jeffries, but you don't need to be popular. You just need to win elections.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of times where you win just because you're the least worst option. It's actually a line I've used in my dating life. Is to say, I'm not as bad.
Yeah.
So I hope the Republicans are paying attention because, you know, Trump is what brought them along on this, but Trump is not going to be around forever. And they just don't get cocky is what I'm saying, because the Democrats, yeah, they're not popular, but the Republicans are not super popular either. And like he said, it's votes are what matters. So Republicans, you better have a better alternative. You can't just go up and say, yeah, they're terrible too. It doesn't, because Trump is now, he's not the alternative. He's the guy that's in office. The Republicans are the ones that are in office.
Yes.
And if they're not getting the job done, people are going to say, well, what else do you have? And we've seen what else is out there. It's pretty bad.
Yes, Jim, I got to agree. Joe makes sense there. I thought I would just beat up on Democrats and would all have a good time laughing at them, but he doesn't make a good point. It doesn't matter. You saw what happened recently in Virginia. We were all laughing at that woman. Remember Abigail Spanberg when she couldn't talk at the debate? She was staring straight ahead. Abigail, should men be in women's locker rooms? She's standing there trying to hide. She won the election because it doesn't matter. It matters who shows up, right?
It matters who shows up. And I don't know, does a makeover really make a difference, like what they look like? The left's been making fun of Trump for 8 years over his makeup and his hair. He's won 2 elections, so I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
You know, like even in 2016, I was going to vote for Chris Christie before Trump came along. You know, and obviously I wasn't worried about appearance for Christie.
That's right.
But imagine if he would have won, like, you know, everyone's giving Trump crap because he's building the ballroom at the White House. He would have built a food court there.
Exactly. Exactly. You remember he was, but did you like him as governor? Remember when,
I did for like 2 weeks in New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah.
He was great for like 2 weeks, and then he just, yeah, he was a flash in the pan. He was like Jeremy Lin, the basketball player.
Yeah.
That had like 6 great games.
Exactly. I think that's why he hated Trump so much, is that he became anti-Trump because he thought he could beat Trump. Because he was like a tough talker, and then it never came through. Deborah, welcome to the show. First time here on Gutfeld, right? Don't worry.
Thank you.
Don't be intimidated. It's easy with old Shillue here. Okay, so Deborah, what do you think of what? Don't look at Tyrus. He's over there making fun of me.
Don't worry about it with old Shillue.
I'm telling her. She would. Don't you agree?
What are you, a
Wait.
60s airplane pilot?
Don't you agree? On a first show, it's probably easier to go
it's
with
easier because old Shillue is.
Shillue.
He's keeping it Shillue-goosey over there.
You and T-Money.
I guess. Listen, I deserve it.
I'm so sorry there, Shillue.
I thought Tyrus was going to be easy on me. That's why I went after DeVito twice. Yeah. Deborah.
I'm just glad nobody's coming after me yet.
No, you're good. But what do you think of the Democrats? Is the makeover going to work? And who do you think, is it Gavin? Who's the standard bearer over there?
Well, I think this is the Sydney Sweeney effect, that everybody's realizing that hotness actually matters, and that's something that matters in the marketplace. We saw American Eagle, their stock went up, and this is something that we've been saying on our side of the aisle for a long time. Take pride in your looks, take pride in your femininity or your masculinity, and the left has said, no, there's no difference, none of that matters, and they've tried to make it work, and it hasn't worked, and that's weird that they're bringing up the trans issue again now, and I think that's part of the reason they're killing the autopsy, but apparently, according to them, they don't want to release it because it's going to divide the party, but nothing divides them, like losing presidential elections, apparently. But as far as Hakeem Jeffries saying that, it doesn't matter what happens because we're actually winning, they're winning elections in Minnesota, and they're winning in places that they're local, small, special elections, and they're just importing people in. So I think that we're good. We're in a good sense right now. And I just hope that they run Kamala again, honestly, in 2028. That will be a great one for us. There was a lot of good sound bites there, falling out of the coconut tree, situations like that, you know? A lot of laughs that were not at anything or towards anyone, just staring off, ha, 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 in the middle of her speeches. But realistically, they need to stop putting forward whoever's popular on TikTok. There's nobody at the front, so people like Jasmine Crockett, Mamdani, whoever can twerk the best on TikTok or make the best branded messaging is suddenly the forefront of the party, and it's pretty sad.
Pretty sad. Tyrus, go ahead. Give it up for her. Give it up for Deborah. Tyrus, you know, they tried to hide this report. I think hiding their positions might be their best course of action going forward. They could hide. If I were head of the Democratic Party, I don't want to give them any advice, but I would say, stop talking about the trans issue. Stop defending the illegal immigration. Stop going after ICE, and just, you know, tamp that down, and then maybe they could get some middle of the road voters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, but then you just cut all their money. They're not saying this because they like it. Half of them don't even believe it.
Yeah.
They're saying it because that's where the funding comes from. Those people write the checks, the special interest groups. That's what the problem with the Democrat, I get it. I'm with them. I would do not show this autopsy. Nobody in this country doesn't know what happened. We literally all were unburdened by what has been. And we all know what that is now. What has been is the Democratic Party. That's what has been. Nobody wants to relive that. Would you want to relive watching old wedding tapes of your wife who left you for your best man? No, no one wants to see that. No one in the family's like, hey, let's break out that Christmas when dad messed up and burnt down half the house and the camera's the only thing that's there. Why do you want to relive a horrible moment? We all know what happened. Here's the thing. The reason they're putting the TikTokers and the dumbasses and the DEIs up front, why? Because we're all talking about them. None of those people, it is 3 years away. None of the people in the front line right now are serious candidates. Hakeem Jeffries, on the other hand, is a serious candidate. Why? Because he does work, he passes laws, and while we're all talking about this and fighting over whether Jasmine Crockett speaks hood or speaks dumb, either way, it's the same. While we're doing that, he's building policy, he's doing this. The Republican Party never knows how to play with a lead. They never do. Doesn't matter. The only difference, the only thing that saves the Republican Party was when President Trump went down the escalator. When he stepped off, he said he was a Republican. If he said he was going to be a Democrat, it would have been the same. It would have been a completely different thing, and would be like, what's wrong with the Republicans? Politics around the whole bend, they're controlled by money, and they're told by the people who in wrestling we have this term called lead from underneath, which means the guy who looks like he's kicking ass is just being told what to do by the guy who is the ring general.
Yeah.
What our politics is, the real people, the ones who make these decisions, the one who make dumbasses walk out on a podium and take a stance against, it's wrong to blow up drug dealers' boats with drugs in it. Nobody with any common sense has ever said that. But when you are in 5 or 6 mil to these special interest groups who are pushing that, you're going to come out and say that.
Yeah. There it is.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.